Okay, ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are live from Omaha, Nebraska, in the middle of what feels like a tornado, but it's okay. We are rocking, we are rolling, just like LSU baseball, pushing through adversity. It is Friday, June the 20th. It is the eve of the College World Series Finals, Harrison. LSU and Coastal Carolina set to do battle. Again, this is our College World Series Finals preview and prediction show. Really excited again to be rocking from Dat Bengal Bus. If you're not here, get here. We're going to be live next hour or so. And again, really appreciate you all tuning in. And those who are here just on the other side of the tailgate, again, braving this heat, braving this wind with us. As always, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. Guys, this is the Windup SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly and this week tri-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Harrison, what's going on, my brother? Look at you stunting. Baby. People have told me that purple was my natural color. Those of you who tune into Mikey Matuk's show, which, hint, hint, there might be a Mikey Matuk sighting later in this one. I've been told, Harrison, that purple is my natural color, and now you, sir, are donning the purple and gold, looking really, really good out here.
It seems like everyone says that purple is your color, and granted, maybe everyone that is saying that is rooting for the team from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I think the purple really brings your skin out, makes it kind of glow a little bit. Either that or it's the sweat from the heat, from it being Chase Shore's weather.
The skin is glistening.
It's definitely Chase Shore's
triple
weather
digits.
Here.
Yes.
So it's hot, but I was talking to Derek Carroll's brother. He said it feels like Baton Rouge. He goes, that's a good thing for LSU because they're used to it.
Yeah, they are used to it. It gets pretty hot in Myrtle Beach, too, to be fair to those guys.
It does. A little more wind, probably.
Yeah, it's going to be feeling like an LSU home game no doubt this weekend. Guys, again, make sure you let us know. Audio, video, we're going to do our very best today. And out here at Dat Bengal Bus, they've been gracious enough to let us out here. And I do want to say thank you to the Yos at Dat Bengal Bus, our friends, Doc, Gary, the entire crew.
Jason.
Again, all those who are Jason as well. They're making sure we don't blow away in the wind right now, by the way. But again, we figured this. So we've been live on location 3 times before this point. First time Thursday, the day before this tournament got going, obviously, before the College World Series got underway, at Omaha Baseball Village with our friends over at Chinook Seedery and USA Baseball. Then, of course, Monday of this week, we're out at Rocco's ripping Jello shots, which Harrison's going to do one here probably in just a second. And then Wednesday, of course, of this week, we're at Blatt. I'm thinking to myself, Harrison, I mean, listen, we felt pretty good about the Bayou Bengals getting to this point. We both picked them to get to this point, by the way. Felt pretty good about it. So I figure what better way? We didn't have another live on location show planned. What better way to preview, predict the College World Series Finals featuring LSU? How can we capture the passion of the purple and gold? There's no better way than where we've been partying.
There is no better way
where we've been partying this whole
to
College
embrace
World
the
Series.
purple and gold than doing a live show from Dat Bengal Bus.
Dat Bengal Bus. There's just no better way. Again, we got the purple and gold on. It's going to feel like an LSU home game. And like I said, guys, we can't say thank you enough for you all tuning in, making this all possible. And again, thanks to those here at Dat Bengal Bus for allowing us to do it. Like I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and dive into it, break down how we got here, what's upcoming this weekend, some of the things that were said today that have kind of stoked the fire. And stay tuned for later in the show. We got a couple LSU baseball legends that are going to grace the airwaves and hang out with us, talk a little baseball, give their thoughts. A couple national champions, by the way. No big deal. So, anyway,
they've been on the biggest stage. They know what it takes.
On the biggest stage. They absolutely know what it takes as LSU goes for number 8. Harrison, first, let's talk how we got here. We'll start with the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. And what's really interesting about both, though, Harrison, as we talk how they got here is pretty simple for both because both went 3-0. It was another year where we had no if necessary games.
Back-to-back years for me for being here in Omaha.
2 off days.
I mean,
quote-unquote off days. It depends on what you do.
2 non-game days in a row.
2 non-game days, yeah.
Maybe a catch-up day content-wise, a sleep-in day, recovery-wise. Got to go to the gym yesterday. Didn't find a run club, but did get a run in with just a couple thousand miles away from my run club. So.
And by the way, I forgot to mention, Harrison, that for those of you tuned in that you're waiting around saying, what time does the show start? Cheers to you all because us being 5 minutes late or so in Omaha, very on brand.
You struggling there
for the boys. I got it.
I
I don't have many fingernails here. All right. Very on brand for the boys to be a few minutes late, but it's all good. Better late than never, they like to say.
Another Jello
Cheers.
shot?
Cheers to the LSU Tigers.
Hey.
Before we even get going.
Cheers to LSU, baby.
Cheers to LSU. Go Tigers. There's no hiding the fandom this weekend.
Another Jello shot for LSU.
It is very, very clear who we are pulling for. Topple over. Did it survive the fall is my question. It did not. Damn. The TV just ate complete shit. Well, this is off to a ripping start, folks, because that TV is busted. I don't know what kind of omen that is, but again, we probably got wind gusts of like 40 miles an hour out here.
At least.
We could have maybe done this on the bus, but whatever. We're like LSU. We just push through adversity. We keep coming back.
Hey, overcoming weather adversity, something we do here.
Again, on that note, this is a good time to do it. As you were about to take that Jello shot, cheers to LSU baseball. In the meantime, I'm going to tell the good folks how we got here. Coastal Carolina, guys, again, has gone 3-0. They have not lost a game. We all know 27 straight wins for the Chanticleers. They win game 1 against Arizona 7-4, then beat Oregon State 6-2 in their second game. And then third game against Louisville, it was the Cardinals, right, trying to force an, if necessary, winner-take-all game. That did not happen as Coastal Carolina jumped out to a 6-0 lead, I believe it was, in the first inning. They win that game 11-3. Really the only just straight-up blowout we've had here in Omaha at the College World Series, and Coastal Carolina very easily punching their ticket to the finals. For LSU, again, 3-0 for them as well. Maybe a little bit more dramatic than what Coastal had to go through. You beat Arkansas in that first game, obviously 4-1. Then you take down UCLA 9-5 in the game that was pushed to Tuesday morning because of weather. And then finally,
shocker, LSU and weather.
You speak of dramatics, by the way. You speak of dramatics. That game Wednesday night, Harrison, that's happened since obviously you and I last spoke when we had our show at Blatt. One of the all-time College World Series games, LSU down 2, bottom of the 9th inning. They score 3. The play, I mean, we could just walk through that 9th inning alone.
The plays
that led to it, the Davalon line drive that he's not able to corral.
The Vahilo Lloyd double play he doesn't make.
Going to third.
I posted that video of earlier here in the College World Series against LSU. That's almost exactly the same ball that he ends up going to second with turning double play and doesn't get the guy out at first because it's Jake Brown running down first base as a lefty there. Stephen Milam, switch hitter, batting righty in this situation. Clearly would have been a expected double play that Arkansas, I think, and everyone watching would expect them to make. The broadcast booth thought they would make that play too. Maybe he's a couple feet to the right towards third and makes that play there and gets the lead runner, but we don't know because, couldn't really ask him.
Yeah. No, it was, he didn't show up to the press conference, which that's a whole other debate, other conversation. But LSU with just the Bear Jones walk-off, one of the most improbable victories you'll ever see. But I guess, again, we shouldn't really be surprised with this LSU team, how it happened. And, of course, Arkansas season comes to just an excruciating end. But it sets up what we have here this weekend, LSU, Coastal Carolina. Harrison, just your thoughts on the path for both sides. Both have had their moments of, being in tight games and having to fight through, have resiliency. Both have had their moments of shining where I feel like we got the two best teams, especially the two teams playing the best baseball right now, undoubtedly, LSU and Coastal. Just your thoughts how they both got here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's on the backs of just the pitching staff, I think, and just the elite rotations that they both have. Coastal Carolina with James Morrison is their ace. I mean, he's the undefeated ace. He's the only undefeated pitcher, I think, in college baseball with the most innings that he has. Eclipsing maybe, I think he's right at that 90-100 mark this season. Obviously, Riley Eckhoff, who didn't pitch in the Supers, pitches here in Game 1 of the College World Series for them. And then now he's going to be, I guess he pitched the semifinal game, so he'll be kind of back rotation now with that if they get to a Game 3. And then Cameron Flukie, who's pitched Game 2 for them, their other
who's going to get a Game 1 start, we know
who's going to be Game 1 starter for Coast. We know that. We don't know officially LSU starters. Jay Johnson can confirm.
Some folks out there think they know.
Yes. It has been posted, but Jay Johnson has confirmed that he has not named a starter yet, and there is not one yet. So I don't know where that's coming from. And so
assumption probably is Cade Anderson, but you never know.
Yes, but with Jay Johnson, you never know. And the flexibility they have. But, I mean, Cameron Flukie came out of the bullpen just like Anthony Einstein did and he did it at the Supers. Cameron Flukie did it here in the College World Series. The depth that they both have in pitching, I think, is the frontline kind of story for me, is the rotations, the elite rotations they both have. And then obviously for LSU, Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, Case and Evans, and then the bullpen they have as well. It's been super timely hitting for LSU and clutch hitting, more dramatic fashion. For Coastal, it's just been barreling the ball, putting up a lot of loud contact, a lot of pressure on with bases, juiced or having guys in scoring position and just capitalizing off those moments.
Yeah, and I think, too, you mentioned the pitching depth. And one of the biggest reasons both sides have that depth still available is because you're able to go 3-0 and take care of business, not have any extra games. I thought that
both line up set up well for the rotations.
Yes, and I think that's going to be a really fun part of this is we're going to essentially get best on best. Like, neither side is coming in like they had to use. Like, that was my biggest concern. If LSU had lost that game to Arkansas, even if they win the next night, you're probably having to pitch Anthony Ianson in that Thursday night game. All of a sudden, you got to shake up your rotation. So you don't get any of that. I think that for both getting through this thing 3-0, you're as fresh as you possibly can be going into this weekend. I think that's a big piece of it. But I mean, listen, Coastal Carolina especially is the team that simply put just cannot lose. I mean, they do all the little things right.
6 now?
I believe 27.
27 game here?
It's 26 or 27. I thought it was 27. Either way,
they're just not losing.
A lot of wins in a row.
It's a lot of 0 losses in a row.
Yeah, it's a lot of wins in a row. They've been wildly impressive. Like you mentioned, the pitching's been dominant. Caden Bodine has lived up to all the hype that everybody gave him, and obviously he got featured a lot in the last broadcast. The lineups, again, they're just a solid team, really, really good team across the board. And then for LSU, like I mentioned, you beat Arkansas twice to get to this point, and many, I think, that was their pick at minimum to go to the finals, if not win the whole thing. You take them down twice. I don't think you can really overstate how big that is to beat the Hogs twice to get here. And in the middle of that, obviously, you dispose of UCLA. So it's been impressive from both sides, from both clubs, Harrison. By the way, shout out to our guy, Matt Beard, Chinook, who texts me and says, shouting you out, shout out to Harrison for the great question, leading to an even better answer from Dave Van Horn. Good on you. This guy brought Dave Van Horn to tears. How many people could say that?
Yeah.
Brought Dave Van Horn to tears.
It wasn't the plan, but, everyone's asking about, this play, that play, the game, kind of the season not reaching their goal. I was like, I asked Dave Van Horn, I said, what is, you've coached a lot of really special and talented teams. What has this team specifically meant to you beyond the season they've had? And, he answered in just kind of like, not even the culture aspect, just like, felt like more so a family aspect and just what these players mean, everything. And then there's about a 10-second pause where he just kind of starts tearing up and getting choked up and crying. And you can just feel draft in the room, it felt like. Yeah. And it was just really, I was like, dang, I didn't mean to make him cry, but it was like, man, that was a good question. Yeah. And I think he really appreciated it. And I talked to him briefly, shook his hand after, and, I think he appreciated that. But it gave me kind of an open floor to talk about this team and just the legacy, and the players specifically, not just the on-field result, but what the players mean and, why so many around the country, Arkansas fans or not, rave about him being one of the best coaches and leader of men.
Harrison, before we dive into this LSU Coastal Carolina series, obviously that's what we're here to do. We're going to talk about it, preview it, predict it. Briefly, thoughts on the Arkansas Razorbacks? Their season obviously ends on Wednesday. We really didn't get a touch on that. Just thoughts on Arkansas season. Because, again, for probably 300 other teams out there in the country, the season Arkansas had would be considered a great season. You get to Omaha. You won a game. You had a no-hitter in Omaha.
You threw the third ever no-hitter in Omaha.
But for the
you
got
to call it an A season.
I don't disagree.
A+ is if you win the championship.
But for the Arkansas fans, Arkansas faithful, unfortunately, the way it'll be viewed as another failed attempt at a national championship. That is how the fan base will view this season.
And I think the biggest thing is that LSU has been Arkansas's kryptonite this season.
Yeah.
0-5 against LSU this season, and just the importance that is. I think that Arkansas fans are going to hold that bad taste in their mouth. Yeah. So it's going to be a long offseason, I think, for them for sure. But the standard for Arkansas, we know what it is, and it's deep in the postseason. And Arkansas fans would add, failing to overcome the mountaintop in Omaha. But it's like we continue to talk about, you can never call a failed season getting to Omaha. I don't think any program in the country can say Omaha is the expectation floor because it's so hard to do. You could say, the winningest program of all time in college baseball, Southern Cal. When was the last time they got to Omaha? And they had the most championships in college baseball history.
And it's definitely not a failed season. I just think that it is you now go, like you said, to 0-5 against LSU and Omaha. They were 1-4. They get that one game in Baton Rouge, but 1-4 on the season.
Yeah,
0-5 all time in Omaha against LSU. It's that giant you can't overcome. And listen, it goes back to
David versus Goliath. That's the thing.
No, it's not. But it does go back to pedigree. It does go back to the fact LSU is going for their 8th national championship. They expect good things to happen when they get here. And I think with Arkansas, you kind of saw, you can try to outrun it as much as you want, but like those demons creep in to where it's just the moment got too big, I think, at times. Right? It was mental things. It was like the Vahiva Aloy thing to me was mental. I guess you call the Davalon play a physical mistake, but I definitely thought there was some panic in that play. Like,
I'm going to defend him here, and I think that's one of the hardest balls in baseball to read and field. And I'm going to stand up for him and stand up for any left fielder that
it was
has
a tough
to face
play.
that ball.
Because
Tanner Allen, Mississippi State legend, 2021 national champion, he said it he said it too, like how hard that plays. I mean, I've seen several minor leaguers tweet about it that are, really deep and successful careers so far in the minor leagues, like saying that left field is the hardest position to play in the outfield. It's way harder than center field because you can see everything from center field. Left field is the hardest because that blind drive that he got straight at him, that low light, it doesn't get above that light. It's super hard to read. I've talked to several people that have played outfield there, and how hard it is to read. But once it gets above the lights, you can kind of see it unless it's a really gray sky. But it's kind of a freeze first step, get low and read it, and then he made a move, and I think he just skid and kind of slipped. It wasn't a mental mistake at all. It was just an unfortunate situation that happened, and just I don't know. I don't. That's not an error because I don't think that's a routine play. I think it's just such a tough ball to read, and it didn't go his way because a lot of people thinking and watching would be like, man, he should make that catch. He plays left field, he plays outfield for Arkansas in the College World Series. He should make that play. Like, that's not an easy play to make. That's not a routine play, and it just happened to hit his shoulder the perfect way. If you're an LSU fan, to scoot off him and go behind him, go to the back corner, it could have been right in front of him, and then one base. But also the Cam Kozel play at second that Bear Jones walked off, it tips off his glove. I mean, maybe he's snow cone to catch that. Like, that's not a routine play either, but it's like, oh, like he should have caught. Like, no, he shouldn't have caught that. Like, that would have been a SportsCenter top 10 play if he caught that. Like, it wasn't just one thing. I mean, David Horn said in pressers, like, we had.
What about the PFP? We got messed up at the beginning of the end.
And we had missed opportunities at the beginning of the game. And I talk about the PFP, that one that Reese Robinette is playing deep in the hole in first base, like very deep and a little bit towards second. He ranges over to second. I think Cam Kozel absolutely gets that ball. And if Reese Robinette knows where he's positioned at second base, Cam, that is, makes one step there and gets back to the bag, I think Cam gets that, swallows it up, throws it to first. I think they get the out there versus Reese Robinette having to make a play to his right, kind of a lean and sidearm throw to first, and trying to lead in just the perfect timing of that with Cole Gibler covering first. It's just such a difficult play that you put in such a tough situation to successfully, execute. So I think it was just a lot of things. It was just I guess the best way to sum it up, it was a series of unfortunate events that ended Arkansas' season in one inning.
And you hate to, as an Arkansas fan, you hate to think that it just was not meant for you to win. But that's how it felt. I mean, when you have that many things compound on top of each other,
unfortunately gives them the vibes of 2018, but way different.
Honestly, it did have shades of it. I do agree with you. The play out and left was tough. I'm sure Davalon would say, hey, if I could go back, I should make the play. I probably normally will make the play.
And everyone went and consoled Davalon after that walk-off. Everyone did. And I love that. That just kind of speaks more to what David Horn says about this team and just who the guys are in this team.
It was wild because you and I were on the field after that. And on one side, you have obviously jubilation and excitement. You're playing for a national title. And about 180 feet away, if that, you just have despondence.
They're both in the outfield for completely different reasons, the whole team.
It was quite a wild scene being out there, experiencing both sides of it. But anyways, LSU advances. That's why we're here. That's the reason we're talking today, Harrison. As we dive into everything really quickly, we have 2 super chats to get to again, guys. Can't say thank you enough for your love and support. D3M Tigers, who's been with us all season long, 99 super chats as Tiger fans. Let's go. Turn up and turn out, baby fellas. Who has the upper hand in your opinion? The Coastal Carolina offense versus LSU pitching, and the LSU offense versus Coastal pitching. LSU hits .313 off of right-handed pitchers. Harrison, we're going to talk about this obviously more in depth, but really quickly, the matchup you are most intrigued by, LSU's arms against Coastal's bats, or the flip side, Coastal's arms against LSU's bats?
I'm going to go, I think personally it's not either one of those, but with these two represented in the question, shout out for the super chat. I love this question. I think it's a really intricate question that I'm glad we're getting to touch on. I'm going to go Coastal's pitching versus LSU's offense. And I'm going to say that for several reasons. One, because you're going to see the best arms in the mid-major of college baseball that absolutely can compete and do compete with the Power 4 programs at the highest level throughout the entire season, playing and pitching their best ball. But it's going to be interesting to see how does that offense go against an LSU offense, which feels like it sees this week in and week out in the SEC almost, and then throughout the entire postseason.
I'm going to go that same matchup. I think with LSU, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I'm expecting Cade Anderson and Anthony Einstein to pitch well. They've done it all season, essentially. It hasn't mattered the opponent. Yeah, West Virginia got a little sticky, but that was kind of an interesting weekend where, like, the offense played really well. Just sometimes it's just an offensive weekend. It happens, whatever. Those guys have been elite all year. So, like, I feel like you kind of know what you're going to get out of them, but what does this LSU offense give you, right? That's going to sort of control and I think dictate the way these games go. And, you know, Coastal Carolina has been able to shut down essentially everyone. So I wonder, I'm more intrigued by and more – I think there's more uncertainty on the side of what are the LSU bats, how are they able to combat what has been maybe college baseball's best pitching staff over the last few weeks.
You can arguably say that for sure, that Coastal is one of the best pitching staffs in the country in rotations. And like I said, Morrison, Fluky, Eichhoff, I mean, any of them I think can go toe-to-toe with this LSU lineup, and they've gone toe-to-toe and beaten, it feels like, every other lineup they've faced, especially James Morrison. 12-0 perfect. I think 13-0 perfect record now, maybe.
I think so.
It's at least 12-0, but
we got some cinematic pitching matchups.
Absolutely. It's such, I think, an underrated thing that people are not going to talk about as much. But I think that with this matchup that we're both on the side of, our Coastal's pitching staff isn't a big strikeout pitching staff. I mean, they're about 0.8 to 1 strikeout per inning. That's the exact opposite for LSU. LSU's about, I think, 12 and a half strikeouts per 9 innings, which is obviously
over 700 strikeouts in the season.
Yeah, I mean, Cade Anderson and Anthony Einstein have the most strikeouts in college baseball with a 1-2 punch of any two-man starting rotation. I mean, you're going to see power pitching from LSU versus more effective get-them-out pitching from Coastal. But I just love how different I think each team's going to approach this from a pitching standpoint and just how elite both staffs are and kind of go toe-to-toe with that. And it's going to be maybe a bunch of low-scoring games.
Yeah,
whatever Steve Philly thinks bet-wise, just fade it.
Well, listen, I was going to say our friends are at FanDuel. They've got their thoughts on what kind of games they're going to be based off the totals, which we'll talk about in a second. I think they expect low-scoring games also. So many of us expecting the Arms to dominate the weekend. Let's go to another Super Chat, Harrison. DJ Trauma Gaming, 499 Super Chat. Thank you so much, DJ Trauma. Here's a fun question. What fan base is the maddest to see LSU in the championship? Don't count Arkansas. Is it Tennessee? Saw 5 Tennessee clowns get booed by the locals at Rocco's. Which fan base is most upset to see LSU in the championship?
Texas. I'm going Texas. Maybe a hot take, but we're warm take at least. I'm going to go Texas just because you come in the SEC year one.
You win the league.
Dominate the SEC in year one. You win the league by LSU. 2 games. You beat LSU, and you kind of just plummet and fall off in your own regional. Can't even get out of your own regional, which it felt like a more favorable regional in a sense compared to some others. And just thinking, we should be here. The Texas Longhorns should be here. Texas Longhorns are a pedigree of college baseball. They are absolutely the program prestiges of college baseball. Dare I say
blue blood?
You can say blue blood. I mean, more so historically.
That conversation's been happening on social.
Absolutely.
And a lot of arguing over blue blood. Texas is a blue blood.
I mean, they haven't won it since 2005.
Yeah.
It just feels like Texas and Omaha, like, you look through the history of college baseball, 75-year anniversary this year. It just feels like Texas feels like Omaha caliber and feel like they should be, I think Texas Longhorns are the most disappointed / maddest and bitter kind of salty taste in their mouth that they're not here in Omaha, let alone the championship, and LSU is. What's your take?
I probably will say Tennessee, to be honest with you. I just think Tennessee fans love you to death. Tennessee fans a lot of times are mad at baseline. So, and Tennessee LSU has kind of developed into this. There's a hatred on social media at minimum, a little bit of a rivalry. Again, we talked about it earlier in the season, new blood against blue blood. New money, old money, however you want to phrase it. I think Tennessee fans are probably the most pissed. I actually think Arkansas fans are pulling for Coastal. I've seen some Arkansas fans on socials pulling for Coastal.
That does not surprise me one bit. But then you have the side of fans that's like, you should support your conference.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen it everywhere. It feels like in pressers, I'd say over half the questions for Coastal were, You know, everyone. How does it feel like everyone outside the state of Louisiana is rooting for Coastal, rooting for the underdog, the little guy, the mid-major? And he goes, basically, it seemed like Kevin Schnall and company felt like I mean, we're not a mid-major. We're not really worried. We don't care. Like, sure, thanks, but like, we don't care. That's kind of what it felt like. So laid back.
Yeah. No, this weekend's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of emotions flying all over the place. We got one more super chat, and then we're going to get into it.
I got a question, too, for you after this.
Cam Johnson, $1.99 on super chat. Thank you, Cam. He says, take that LSU stuff off, Chris, and rep Coastal. LOL.
I mean, you could get a shirt from Jake.
No, Cam Johnson, respectfully. No.
Is it respectful even?
It's respectful. I promise. It is respectful. Nothing against Cam. But
give me a quick take on most disappointing Omaha of the 8 teams here. You want me to go?
Probably Oregon State.
I was going to go Oregon State.
Probably Oregon State. Maybe Arizona. You beat UNC to get here, and you go 2-Q.
But I'm going to go Oregon State. Just say, like, everyone expected them to be. They're a national seed. Top 8 national seed too. You host a super. You beat a Florida State team who was one of the best teams in the country all year. It feels like with Jamie Arnold.
Just to be different, I'll go Arizona. I think to go 2-Q after you upset North Carolina, but I get it. Then again, for them, like I guess just getting here was quite an achievement. Going to Chapel Hill and taking down the Tar Heels, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Arizona, that was a tough. I mean, somebody's got to go 2-Q, but that was a tough showing. It's a tough showing for the.
And then obviously Louisville's deep run here in Omaha that no one really talks about.
Very unexpected. You and I were talking about it last week. Very, very unexpected. Guys, we are going to get into everything that is the College World Series Finals, talk some matchups, lock in some predictions. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The wait is over. Baseball season is finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel's got so many ways for you to get in on the action, from hits to steals to home runs. They've got a lineup filled with all your favorite bets, or if pitching is more of your thing, FanDuel's got a deep bullpen of bets from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be on almost anything, and if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. Why do I bring up FanDuel right now, guys? Because as we break down this weekend series, we're going to talk some odds. FanDuel's got odds right now for who you can bet on, who you think is going to win the College World Series Finals. They've got individual game odds. They're going to have props as well. Again, run lines, totals, what have you. Just make sure whatever bet you're placing, whether you're fading me or you're tailing me, you go to FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partners of Major League Baseball, college baseball, and of course, us over here at secunfiltered.com. Harrison, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. I want to get these Vegas lines out here, these FanDuel lines really quickly. And then I want to talk to you about some of the things that came out today, by the way, because we got some spiciness. We got a little, I don't even know if it's trash talk. I think we're probably just digging for things.
A little banter.
A little bit of banter. We'll call it banter. Nothing probably too serious.
You know what they say about banter?
The beauty's in the banter. It is. Our friends over at FanDuel, though, I was curious about this, Harrison. Was LSU going to be viewed as the favorite? Was Coastal going to be viewed as the favorite because they just feel like the team that can't lose?
They haven't lost since the last Pope, Chris.
They haven't. That is a fact. That is a factual statement. So interestingly enough, though, because I believe yesterday I posted this, right? We posted initial odds that came out from FanDuel. And so I want to go back to yesterday. LSU was listed -192 to win the College World Series Finals. Coastal yesterday. Coastal +154. Today, via our friends over at FanDuel, these are right now, LSU -164, Coastal +134. So the odds have actually increased and gotten better in favor of Coastal Carolina, if you can believe that or not. So
I believe it. I mean, I think just a lot of belief in this Coastal team, let alone people wanting to bet on the underdog and betting, everyone's hammering LSU. Like, I'm going to bet with Coastal Carolina because the odds are pretty good. So I think that's a little bit of balance of both that have kind of leveled those things out a little bit. So I'll tell.
Some money coming in on Coastal Carolina a little bit. Obviously the books are trying to get even money. Again, we will get into the game one odds in a second here, Harrison, but just thoughts on, of course, it is Friday at the College World Series, which to the to the common fan, I don't know how much it means, but it is media day here for the College World Series Finals. We got comments from Jay Johnson, from Kevin Schnall, players from both sides. Thoughts on some of the comments that came out today? We had some humor. We had some banter. We had some trash talk that I don't even know was trash talk, but of course, we're going to have some fun with it. We had a quote from Kate Anderson yesterday about not knowing where Coastal Carolina is. Again, was that trash talk? No, I don't think so. But of course, social media is where things just go crazy and get taken out of context. Have any comments stood out to you that if you found humorous, entertaining, interesting? I know one specifically because you posted about it.
Surprisingly, I'm going to say nothing surprised me context-wise or quote-wise. Nothing stood out to me, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that was said.
We got some bits. We got some
there's
bits,
some good bits, though. But I think everything that was said on the Coastal side from, Coach Kevin Schnall about just his journey. He goes, I've had other opportunities to coach other places. Like, it was never about that, being a head coach. It was about coaching at Coastal Carolina. There was never, a thought or difference about that. That's why he was such a long-tenured head coach, or a long-tenured assistant coach behind a long-tenured head coach in Gary Gilmore. And Gary Gilmore was here for opening weekend, seeing Coastal Carolina play in person for the first time. So super cool there. And, Kevin Schnall played at Coastal. So just what that meant to, be able to coach at the school, his alma mater now, and just where he's been. And because I love Coastal, it's the only place I basically want to coach. It's what it seemed and sounded like. So super cool there. And, the other comments from the players, I can't remember who asked, but one of the reporters said, like, what do you think of LSU? Blah, blah, blah. And I think it was James Morrison.
What do you like about LSU?
And it was a big pause, and he goes, not much.
We don't like anything about LSU.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. It's like, take it for what you will. Some people are going to run with that. Some people are like, that's funny. Like, some people, I guess a little fun banter.
Yeah.
But then, on the other side, Jay Johnson, nothing pretty standard, typical from him. And, like, in a way that I expect is, like, a positive way. It's good. And I think the funniest thing for me was when Jake Brown, speaking of Jake Brown, he says, we have a team GPA, he just sent me, over 3.0. So, team GPA over 3.0. So, hey, scholar program. Here we go. Scholar program.
Want to make sure that's out on record, by the way.
Out on record.
Some scholars do
Jake
go
Brown
to LSU.
sent me that scholar program.
There's some scholars of LSU baseball.
The quote he said, it was kind of the end of, like, halfway through what he was talking about just with the LSU program. And he said, quote, we came here to play baseball. We're not really scholars. So he, Coach Johnson, obviously, does a great job of laying it out for us and going out there and executing as simple as we can be. So super thankful for that. Scholar program over 3.0.
Scholar.
I've seen during
Bunch
football
of scholars.
season. We've seen during football season. I think it was a school out that's a new ACC school's highest team GPA, and it was like a 2.8, 2.9.
Could have left that one in the drafts, boys.
Yeah, could have left that one in the draft. That one shouldn't even gone to the drafts even. But no, Chris, we remember was it 2012, the Cardell Jones post about, I didn't come here to play school.
It's accurate. They didn't come here to play school.
Especially now with NIL. Like, you can't. It's funny because they call them, hey, like, that's all the questions of time we have to student athletes. And, are they really student athletes now? They're not employees of the school, and they should not be. But,
they came to play ball. But listen, baseball players are typically the smartest athletes, if I do say so myself.
I can tell you that.
Some of the smartest.
Yeah. There's definitely, you can go lower than that.
Argue with a brick wall. Argue with a brick wall.
Is that a smart thing to do?
Exactly. That's why football and basketball and the other sports would do it.
No, but like nothing really stood out to me. I just thought that was probably the best quote takeaway from the day. And if you know Jake Brown, he obviously kind of means that jokingly. But we know the pedigree and program that LSU is and the tradition and standard which they have. This isn't I'm getting my education and playing baseball. It's I'm going here to play baseball and I get an education.
Yeah. Great place to do it. That is LSU.
He definitely meant it a little lightheartedly, I think.
Yeah, everything else is pretty much status quo. A lot of coach speak, a lot of what you'd expect. Both these coaches, both these teams, very complimentary of each other, and it's going to be a great weekend, Harrison. With that being said, let's talk about it this weekend. LSU, Coastal Carolina, a shot at a national championship is on the line. Coastal going for their second, LSU going for their eighth. And Harrison, we have to talk about when you talk storylines this weekend. Buddy, this one's personal. This one's personal.
Really? I thought a pick was never personal.
This one, I'm not talking about me yet. This one's personal for a lot of people, right? Let me take you back to 2016. Who can forget the image, the still image of Coastal Carolina dogpiling on the field at Alex Box? A dejected Kramer Robertson is down in the fetal position, essentially, in that photo with Coastal in the background celebrating. That was 2016. Go to the final of 2016. Who did Coastal play and beat in the finals? Arizona. And who was the head coach?
Jay Johnson.
Jay freaking Johnson
2 for 2
was the head coach. So you've got that dynamic. And then, of course, if we really have to get in the personal dynamic for yours truly, we will. But it's been an eventful last few weeks since the postseason started for your boy. This is the matchup I wanted. This is the matchup I think a lot of us wanted, but this is the matchup that I predicted and I wanted, and I was wishing for it to happen. Listen, the SEC first time around, Auburn, you let me down. Now we get another crack at them with LSU, the best of the best when it comes to SEC baseball. And again, we'll talk about more of my dynamics when I get in my pick, but just for the sake of the baseball, and I know these two teams don't really care, but from the program perspectives, the fan base perspectives, this one's a big deal. This one, I think, especially from the LSU side, really, really personal for them to get back and get some revenge.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. Another thing from Presser that this reminds me of is, I can't remember which player he spoke about. The guys from 2016 are still around the program or connected to the program or reached out to the guys and just kind of supported them and what that's meant. It's
a lot of them will probably be in attendance. A lot of those 2016 guys will
to.
probably be in attendance.
I mean, we've already had a lot of LSU guys from 2023 national championship team in attendance. Paul Skeens, Trey Morgan, Will Helmer's here, who we'll see shortly, and had some great conversations with them for sure outside of Paul Skeens. So I think it's one of those things. I mean, a lot of I think the Coastal guys, it's like, that was a different team. That's not us. It's not like we grew up
different
watching
LSU
them.
team too.
Different LSU team, but it's not like we grew up watching it. But I mean, Jake Brown said it too. I mean, he's from West Monroe, Louisiana. He said, when you grow up in
he
Louisiana,
remembers watching that.
Yeah, he said he remembers watching that. But when you grow up in Louisiana, almost every kid thinks about, this is a paraphrasing basically, but every kid dreams about and thinks about, growing up to play baseball at LSU.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
And getting to this point, competing for a national team.
Yeah, so I don't think it's as much of a, these guys are thinking about, last time, because it wasn't them, but they do want to represent the school and the team and the program in a way that, like, I guess the fans accomplish getting that revenge back. But same thing with Coastal. I think it's not like I don't think they're taking it personally on either side. But they want to win now.
It's definitely more of a fan base thing.
Absolutely.
It's more of a
100%.
fans thing,
I don't
programs
think,
thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone that's playing on the field or, in the dugouts is thinking about that at all.
So, Harrison, that said, let's talk about the guys that are playing on the field. Again, 3-game series, best of 3. Thank goodness. We used to have a 1-game series in this event, believe it or not. No longer do we have that. It'll all get going on Saturday night, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central here at the Chuck. Sunday, game 2, of course, a 1:30 first pitch. And then Monday, if necessary, we'll get that at 6:30 Central. What did you do? Cut yourself there real quick?
I don't know. Battle wounds.
Guys getting intense up here. He's bleeding on set. Blood, sweat, and tears is what got us here. So it'll continue to carry us.
In pregame speech for the LSU tailgate.
Hey, we may bleed, but
we'll never die.
But we never die. We may bleed, but we never die. I could pull out the accent and do it, but I'm not going to. Yeah, we may bleed, but we never die. Better together. Better together. We're also better together.
A lot of different. The night they played the Tigers. Yeah. It felt like straight out of Remember the Tigers.
We've had a lot of fun pregame speeches here at Dat Bengal Bus. But anyways, Harrison, best of 3. We know for Coastal Carolina, Kevin Schnall confirming they are going with Cameron Flukie, 3.29 ERA on the year. Has been really good, nearly 100 innings pitched for them. I think we feel pretty good Cade Anderson's going to go game 1. We have nothing official. I think it's going to be Cade Anderson game 1, Anthony Ianson game 2. From there, if you did go game 3, it would depend on who has pitched, who has not. Obviously, we know what Cason Evans has done in starts. We saw him against UCLA, what he did. You worry about that point when you get to that point. Talking about these two teams, let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Like this 3-game series is going to come to the pitching, right? That's got to be the storyline here. Obviously, we know the keys to baseball. We talked about it a lot. Great pitching, timely hitting, great defense. But for both of these teams, they both have talent in their lineups, no doubt. But it starts on the mound. And from the LSU perspective,
it sets the tone.
It sets the tone, obviously. And for me, Harrison, again, it starts for LSU on the bump with that 1-2 punch of Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson. Talk to me about how you think these two pitching staffs, these starting rotations, these staffs as a whole, how they match up with each other. Because, again, that's at this point in the year, we've seen it all throughout Omaha, but especially a series like this when it's strength on strength. I really, truly do believe, Harrison, that's where this series is going to be won and lost.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things in which, keep the status quo to status quo. You don't change what you've been doing that's gotten you here to be successful. Jacob Morrison, Riley Eckhoff, Cameron Flukie. that are guys that, aren't huge strikeout guys, like I said, about one per inning, but letting their defense play. Like, keep doing what's been successful for them and what's gotten them here. They all have a sub 1.15 whip, which anything under a 1.3 is really good. But, Riley Eckhoff's got a 1.13 whip. Cameron Fluke's got a 1 flat whip, and Jacob Morrison's got an unbelievable 0.91 whip.
Crazy.
12-0. I mean, 104 innings, 90 innings, 95 and 2/3 innings. All of them less than 1 hit per inning. And it's just getting guys to get themselves out. I mean, I know it's an oversimplification of how to, be a good pitcher is get guys to get themselves out, but like that's what's gotten him there and been successful. And then,
I mean, I thought he asked the question today about what's made them so successful. I'm paraphrasing, but he just said starting out, he's like, we got really good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, that helps. That helps when you got good shit.
You talk about their pitching coach. I mean, it's his first year. I mean, and what Matt's been able to do in their first year as a pitching coach there, and just the elite level from the jump, it feels like. He says, and paraphrasing what I think it was Jacob Morrison, that said it in presser of, what he's been able to mean to this team as a pitching coach. And it's just pounding the zone with great stuff. And that's a very oversimplification of how to, execute pitches in the zone. But like, I mean, I guarantee you a lot of pitching coaches around the country would agree. I mean, I spoke to some firsthand in the SEC that basically say the same thing, dominating the zone. And you basically, instead of the strike zone being here, you expanded a ball or two off the plate, and you just really open that zone up in the hitter's eye so it feels a little bit bigger and either strike out or get themselves out. And that's the biggest thing. On the LSU side of things, it's elite stuff, executing all over the edges of the zone that you're going to swing and miss on. It's more of a swing and miss than they let the defense work. But when they do let the defense work, and you got guys like Stephen Milam, who's one of the best defensive players in the country, I think, that just is still underrated defensively and what he's able to do anywhere you put him. Bear Jones, one of the best defensive first basemen in the game. You got Chris Stanfield, one of the fastest center fielders probably in college baseball. And, you got guys, they have so many, Jay Johnson talked about, you have so many outfielders that would start at so many places that don't, but that he knows he can plug in immediately, you're going to produce. I mean, it's crazy. You got Jake Brown, you could put him in, you could put, Reeves in.
Ashton Larson.
Yeah, you can put Larson in, you can put, anyone. It feels like they have so many guys at the bench. You got John Pearson, a freshman who they're trying to find a place for him to play next year for sure, because he's got a bat that can swing it. He can mash, and they love his.
So I'm taking some reps at third.
Yeah, taking some reps at third. I mean, just a freshman to come in a situation. I mean, he's only had now 4 appearances in the postseason. I think 2 in the College World Series, but just like that's how confident they are in him. You can put him in a situation. And Jay Johnson, I think, one of the best coaches at putting his players in off the bench in situations that they can be successful in. We've seen it a lot. Dalton Beck, right? And how important, players and the execution of the pinch hitting roles that Jay Johnson makes those great decisions on.
Again, I think it starts on the mound, Harrison, and you talked about the depth. Obviously, you have to have that to get to this point. There's so many different guys that have played hero for LSU. I'll continue to sing the praises of a Dalton Beck, who was so big, got that big knock against Tennessee.
That changed the season for LSU. It felt like the momentum.
And, you never know what happens if the moment doesn't. But, like, again, exactly, you never know what happens if that moment doesn't happen. Are you still in this position? Baseball is a fickle game, and momentum is a fickle mistress. So, obviously, again, so many guys have played hero, stepped up. We talked about it. It's kind of we laugh about it. It's sort of funny, but it is true. Bleed but don't die. This LSU team bleeds but never dies. And it's because there's so many guys that are willing to step up, embrace the moment, be big for them. So again, I think it does start on the bump when these two teams face each other. But somebody in these lineups have got to step up and hit. I mean, that's the big thing for LSU. I'm looking for is like who emerges. Is Bear Jones able to build off the big night he had? Obviously, it's been a very, very up and down College World Series for him. You go 0 for 5 with 5 Ks against Arkansas in the first game. You bounce back, essentially lead off, or really early in the game against UCLA, have the big 3-run homer. Then you have the walk-off there and a home run against Arkansas in the next game. What can he do? Can he continue to stay hot?
He's always a presence in the box.
He's always a presence. And I believe guys have taught, like, when he's going, we're going. Like, the lineup is, if Bear Jones, if you tell me this 3-game series, or if it's 2 games.
Case and Evans said that post-game.
He swings it well, LSU's going to win. Like, I feel very confident. Like, if they get a big 2 games or 3, however many it takes out of him, like, I feel very confident in saying LSU is going to win, because that probably means hitting's contagious and everybody else in that lineup is going to be swinging
LSU feels
well.
like one of the most contagious hitting lineups in college baseball.
It's like they all go or none
level.
of them go to a degree, right? Like, that's the reason I've said when they get cold, it's very, very
add Stephen
cold.
Milam to that list when he's in the box too.
Yeah, dude, Monsters, he's doing what he does in the postseason. He cuts it on. He flips the switch.
It's crazy. And you got guys, not even to mention Josh Pearson and how much he means to this team. And he's one of the few guys that was on that 2023 national championship team.
Yeah, with what him and I think the experience too, we can talk about that as well. I think that does play a huge factor in this. I think having guys that were on that 23 team that, again, have been here, like you can just tell at LSU, like, and I think Coastal's the same way from the standpoint, like they're expecting good things to happen. They're expecting to win. With LSU, it's a different, dare I use the word aura? It's a different aura with them. Like, you're going for number 8. Like, you're supposed to win national championships at LSU. I think that's made such a difference. It showed itself, I thought, against Arkansas. I won't be surprised if it shows itself this weekend. And that's just kind of the makeup. Like, let me go ahead and say this about this LSU team. They are very, 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 very good. Were they the most talented team, talented on paper in college baseball? I would say no. But some teams just have it, and they have it.
I would say definitely one of the top 10 teams.
For sure. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying, like, they, despite maybe some shortcomings or deficiencies or any bumps they ran into the road, like, they have the pedigree. This team has pedigree.
The pedigree, the swag, the clutchness.
They do, man. And I think it's part of being at LSU. Like, that just – it's such a – culture's that buzzword, but – it's just such a culture thing.
I think even more, take a step up from culture, program prestige, program expectations.
It's huge. It's huge. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, Harrison. I am the matchup that intrigues me most is seeing what this LSU lineup is able to do against this Coastal pitching staff. And I'm curious about, can LSU – can they limit these starters? Can they not these starters out early? Because I think the Coastal bullpen is still one of those things. It's good. How good is it? I'm curious how good it really is, because that's been the scouting report kind of on Coastal. If you can get past those starters, they got some guys that you can hit around a little bit. Is LSU able to, and I think the approach has got to be for them offensively, and obviously Jay is going to have an in-depth plan, go deep into counts, work counts, like get Morrison to the 5th inning, he's got 100 pitches. Like, try to get these guys out of the game as quick. And I know that goes without saying, obviously. I'm sure for Coastal it'll be a very similar plan, but I think you've got to try to get to the bullpen as quickly as possible and see what you can do from there, because you're probably going to have a tough go against these starters. You probably are, but if you're able to get to that bullpen by let's just even say 3rd or 4th inning or even 5th inning, you're going to set yourself up really nicely. We've seen LSU take advantage of some bullpen woes from some other teams during this tournament and throughout the season.
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with the bullpen. I think the bullpen for Coastal isn't a question. I think it's just overshadowed by the starting rotation. I really do. When you got those 3-headed dragon I talk about with Coastal, I mean, the bullpen, you got Ryan Lynch, Cullen McKay, Dominic Carbone, and Matthew Podock in the bullpen. All guys that have sub-1-2 whips, and just how effective they are and, confident they are coming out of the bullpen and keeping the momentum going and shutting guys down, following the pitching staff they have that the starting rotation is. I think it's something that flies on the radar more just because they're not a household program like LSU is. They don't have these household names like guys that are throwing 100 miles an hour like Chase Shores, guys that are just stepping up. They're going to be future Saturday and Friday night guys like Case and Evans. Just these guys, I think, that are – the bullpen gets a little overshadowed by the starting rotation, and then the lineup that they have that produces. It's just – I don't think you can count out this Coastal bullpen, but LSU has taken advantage of a lot of teams that when they go to the bullpen, the guy's not settling in. So that's going to be something, obviously, the key to watch. But and we've seen it. Any team can take advantage of a bullpen late in the game.
Especially in a pressure situation like this. I just think that, like, with these starters, I think you're probably going to have a better chance to create some chaos against the bullpen. If you're –
especially coming in with the guys on.
If Fluky and Morrison are going out there and they're going 7+ innings, you're going to have a tough time winning these ball games. And it goes for both sides. It goes for both sides. Like, you're going to have a hard time beating LSU if Cade Anderson and Anthony Einstein are settling in, going 7+, and they can hand the ball to, Chase Shores throwing 100 or, Maverick Rizzi or Cooper Williams or Zach Cowan or whoever else it is. Boy, you're going to have a tough time doing much of anything. And I guess you could say that for both sides. Like, if the pitchers are on, it might be some 2-1, 3-2 kind of games. Just scratching out whatever you can. Probably low-scoring games. Yeah,
I definitely think it's going to be probably leaning towards an under, especially when the starters are in. I think, the first 6-7 innings, the under is definitely going to be – I have a lot of confidence in it, we'll say. But we've seen, the LSU-Arkansas game, the overhit in that 9th inning. From the 8th and 9th inning of the bullpens, things like that. I think that's the biggest thing is that transition from the starting rotation to the bullpen. Guys coming in, can they lock down, get out of innings like when Chase Shores comes in last game against Arkansas with guys on, comes in a big situation and leaves the guys on base, just fired up, and just how much of a momentum boost that is for teams, and just, kind of just hammering a nail in the back of the other team, just really just a momentum swing. I think those are the biggest things. Can you limit the big inning? And Coach Kevin Schnall has talked a lot about, win the big inning war. I think that's important and going to be a huge piece for this series as a whole. So we'll see how it goes.
And momentum, too, I think, when you're LSU and you got a Coastal team that's won 27 straight, boy, if you can go out there game one, punch them in the mouth, because I thought it was interesting. Kevin Schnall was asked today, you haven't lost in so long.
Yeah.
How do you bounce back?
How they jumped on teams in the first inning, too.
Right.
Jumped on teams.
So if you're LSU, go out there, get a 2-3 run lead. Again, hit around these starters a little bit, right? Hitting them around would be 2-3 runs, probably not 6 or 7. But get a lead, put Coastal in maybe an uncomfortable, an unfamiliar position, which is a little bit uncomfortable being down, especially if they go down 0-1 in the series, and then you've got Anthony Ianson. I mean, the winner of that first game, and it goes without saying, it's very obvious, going to have such an upper hand because of the pitching matchups, because who you have available. I'm stoked for the series, man. I really am. I think it's going to be a wildly competitive series. We know about all the emotional stuff and the personal stuff, and maybe there's some revenge factors, and you got, the mid-major against the SEC team. And for us, obviously, I think it's huge for the SEC. I know that essentially everybody outside of the state of Louisiana supposedly is pulling for Coastal Carolina to win. That very well may be true, but for the conference, it's really big. Going for their 6th straight national championship, and I believe it wouldn't be 6 different.
It'd be 5 different teams in
a 6-year span because LSU got it.
Arkansas could have made it 6 in different.
Arkansas could have. They could have, but they did not. Harrison, anything else before we get in the prediction here? Lock in a prediction that we didn't touch on. Keys of the series. Anything specifically you're looking for?
Arkansas Little Rock did beat LSU. Something that Arkansas didn't do. But also a mid-major, they beat LSU. So, I mean, I don't know. But I just think that Coastal's not going to go in there scared one bit.
No.
But it is going to feel like an LSU home game here in Omaha, Nebraska. Both weather-wise,
people rolling in,
fan-wise. I mean, it's going to be as real as the teal is, and I believe that.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I'll say it again.
Go rodeo.
Go rodeo, baby. So, as real as the teal is, because the teal is for real, shout out Mike Monaco, this place is going to be painted in purple and gold and roaring for their Tigers.
Painted in purple and gold, no doubt it's going to feel like an LSU home game.
I mean, it's already felt like, as many LSU fans we've seen, I think from the words on the streets in Omaha and back in Baton Rouge, in the state of Louisiana, only more Tigers are coming.
Yeah, no, they're on the way. It's all the flights are being booked up.
Speaking of Tigers, I love this hat. It's a fresh hat, baby.
We're rocking it today.
That's so fresh.
There's no secret who we're pulling
got
for. The
Sailor
purple
Benny,
and gold
got
here.
Sailor here.
Got the Sailor Tiger. Harrison, that being said, let's dive into it. Let's lock in some predictions, lock in some picks. LSU, by the way, in game one tomorrow night is -1.5 at +124. They are -172 on the money line. The over-under, 8.5. So Vegas is expecting a low-scoring game. Obviously, it's interesting. LSU's the betting favorite to win the College World Series final. Coastal might be, I think, more the fan favorite and who a lot of people out there are pulling for.
Yep.
They want to take down the big, bad SEC. But we know these teams as well as anybody. You guys have watched them. You guys have seen them. We all understand what's on the line. College World Series finals, national championship. Coastal going for 2, LSU going for 8. Harrison, how do you see it playing out, and who takes home the national championship?
Man, Chris, but 2 days off, I think it's such a key thing for both teams. It would have been a huge thing for Coastal if LSU would have lost to Arkansas. Like you could say they should have, except for the mistakes in the 9th inning. LSU having to play an extra day, not having 2 days off, using more pitching, would have been a huge upside and a huge benefit. I think that would have changed the lines drastically for Coastal's favor. Giving them 2 days off and not having to play, save some pitching, everyone's fresh. Chris, it's obvious that it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's so important how taking the lead in game one late in the game, but then also closing out game one and winning it. Obviously, I don't know the status. I'll have to figure it out and post it, but the overwhelming majority of teams that win game one in the College World Series finals win the series.
Goes without saying.
This
huge momentum.
Just for maybe someone that's new to baseball this year, I wanted to emphasize that as much as possible. as much as I would love this to be a 2-game and get out, especially have a little bit more to celebrate and enjoy. We both love more baseball, especially championship baseball, Omaha level baseball, College World Series caliber baseball. I don't see it happening too, Chris. Give me 3-game series, neck and neck the entire way. I don't think there's going to be a blowout either way. I think every game is going to be 3 runs or less difference in score. If I'm leaning on a pick for game 1, I'm going the under, even though it's 8. 8's a low number, but you got to win game 1, Chris. You got it. And how important it is and sets you up so well to win the series. You got to go out and win game 1. Your best arms are going if it's a close game, and if it's a 1-run, 2-run game, lead or behind. Give me LSU in 3. In 3, Chris. Give me the Tigers in 3. I think the depth of the pitching staff and the bullpen just a little bit more for LSU in just the clutch factor. The clutch factor and what it's going to feel like in Alex Box North here in Omaha, Nebraska, both fan-wise, weather-wise. I mean, we're experiencing Chase Shore's weather here, triple digits, the humidity. I've talked to LSU
40-mile-an-hour winds.
40-mile-an-hour winds, the humidity. It feels like Baton Rouge, which is a benefit for LSU. I just think that I don't see either team winning this in 2. I think they split game 1s and game 2. I think LSU wins game 1 and game 3. I think Jacob Morrison throws a gem maybe. Sorry, Jake Morrison throws an absolute gem in game 2 and just they squeak out a win. But you cannot count this Coastal team out. This Coastal Carolina team, the teal is for real. But give me the Tigers. Give me the Bayou Tigers. The Bayou Bengals, Chris. The fighting LSU. The Raging Cajuns. That would be Lafayette, but these Cajuns are raging here. They are raging for number 8, Chris. We know how special the number 8 is for LSU. Give me title number 8 for LSU to bring home to Baton Rouge and stand on top of the mountaintop in the SEC. Have 6 straight national championships.
This place is going to be rocking, no doubt. It's going to be painted purple and gold. Harrison and I both.
They're going to win both the title and the Jello Shot Challenge.
Oh, no question. That was never it was always a battle for second in that. We're going to be rocking. I'm going to be rocking the purple and gold certainly all throughout the weekend. I will tell you this, and I mentioned this to you, and I was thinking this watching the game on Wednesday night. I was going to be genuinely nervous for LSU had they lost the Wednesday night game and had to throw Anthony Ianson on Thursday, because that's who would have started, right? And heck, we saw him kind of moving around at least on Wednesday. Thought he might come out of the bullpen. That would have been a whole other thing. But the fact that they were able to come back, it was a big deal to win and punch your ticket. It was a whole other deal and a massive deal to not have to use Anthony. Same for Coastal if they would have lost, right? Just not having to use another arm, another day of pitchers, right? Now you're both fresh. You both had 2 days off your feet essentially a little bit. Your arms are rested. We're going to get best on best. We're going to get elite on elite. And so I think when you're picking this series, a lot of it just simply comes down to which pitching staff are you going with? Which pitching staff are you siding with? They're both elite. Like the 3-headed monster, 3-headed dragon you talk about with Coastal's for real. Kevin Schnall's a hell of a coach. I know I've had my history with Coastal, and I will say, funny enough and ironically enough, the Coastal people have been great here. Coastal social media folks.
Can confirm.
Whole of a different animal, whole different beast. We know how social media is. We've experienced it since we've been here in Omaha, Nebraska. But the Coastal people here have been awesome, and I got nothing but love for them. Heck, I talked to guys, former players at Coastal, that mentioned they were getting recruited in 2006 by Kevin Schnall, and he was always kind of the one that was running things behind the scenes, and Gary Gilmore was the face. And so Kevin Schnall has been brought up by one of the best. He's essentially, he was the coach in waiting, I think, for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Josh Jordan at LSU, how important Jay Johnson said he is.
Their right-hand man. Like truly,
he makes his job so much easier.
Truly a cornerstone of what they've built there at Coastal Carolina, and I tip the cap and I commend them. On the LSU side, again, it is the 1-2. Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson. We know about the bullpen. What does the lineup give me? That's my question. What does the lineup give me? Is it a lineup that's going to make 27 outs difficult, right? 1 through 9. Hey, a guy like Michael Braswell, as our friend Mikey Montauk likes to say, even if you go 0 for 5, can you put something in the bucket? Against an elite pitching staff like this, heck, we talked about this and he made that point. It was the weekend of the Tennessee series. Put something in the bucket. If you go 0 for 5.
He can move a guy over to third every single
Did you get a sack bunt down? Did you hit a ball to the right side with the guy on second, less than 2 outs? Did you hit the sack fly? Like, did you do something productive? Because against these elite guys, like I said, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 runs that make the difference, or 1 or 2 runs that makes the difference in those situations. Situational baseball is going to be so key here. I know that's boring, and people are like, yeah, no duh, but it's of emphasis
because I think teams here.
We're going to get 2 or 3 close games. I don't see any of these being blowouts. It's all going to be, which team gets the big knock late, which team in this situation makes the mental mistake or doesn't, or gets the situation, executes it properly. It really is going to come down to that. So, I'm looking at guys, again, like a Derek Curiel, the table setter. I'm looking at a Bear Jones in the middle of the lineup, obviously. A Jake Brown, who's been clutch. A Josh Pearson when he gets his opportunity. Monster Milam to stay hot. Luis Hernandez, Poppy to stay hot, right? Like, we don't talk about him nearly as much. So you go down through that lineup, there's so many guys who have been doing a great job to this point, and then I think some others who can come on. I'm looking for, and I'm intrigued by that LSU lineup. That's my big question for them. Also, the chess match that is Jay Johnson against Kevin Schnall, and especially Jay Johnson because he is the mad scientist, as we know. This guy will tinker with the lineup. He'll play matchups. I think Jay does a really good job of mixing the analytics and what the numbers tell him and what his eyes tell him. Like, he's got a baseball feel
Professor Jay Johnson
along with, right? Like, for example, pinch hitting Dalton Beck against Tennessee. I don't know that there's anything really analytical that tells you that that's a great decision. That's a baseball feel thing. But also, he'll move guys in the lineup and he'll play matchups. And so he's got a nice mix.
We've seen several different lineups.
I think that's what Jay probably does best from what I can see. And there's many things he does well, but I think that's one of the things he does best is it's a mix of this analytical perspective, but this baseball field perspective. At the end of the day, big-time players win big-time games. When I look at LSU and I look at Coastal, they're both littered with big-time players. Does LSU have more of them? Yes, they do. And it very simply put for me is this, Harrison. And again, I think it's going to be close baseball. It's going to be really, really elite, fun to watch baseball. I think Vegas has nailed it with the over-under, the 8.5. I think they're going to be low-scoring games, which probably means they're going to go over, and somehow, some way, we're going to get a lot of offense because everything I seem to touch, it seems like with the gambling side, goes the opposite. But I simply put, go back to this, Harrison. Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson. You're giving me that 1-2 punch. It's the best 1-2 punch in college baseball. If Coastal Carolina goes out there and beats them, I will tip my cap. But until I see it, I ain't doing it. And with that said, I always like to say that a pick is never personal. Motherfucker, this pick is personal. LSU is going to beat Coastal in 2 games, 2 and done. We're going to get done around 4:30. We're going to go out on the field, take some video, take some pictures, get some interviews, and we're going to come back right here to this spot at Dat Bengal Bus and drink this place dry, smoke some victory cigars, have a great time, party all night long, and cap off our time in Omaha as we rightfully should, with the SEC getting their 6th straight national championship and LSU getting number 8. Coastal, you got a fine team. You got a fine club. You ain't built to beat this LSU team. Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, boom, boom, shove, call it. 2 great games, 2 close ones. I think LSU gets it, though, and I think LSU gets it in 2. It's payback for 2016. It's payback for Jay Johnson. It's payback for C. Philly. It's payback for SEC Unfiltered. The SEC in a year when everybody called them overrated in the postseason, this, that, whatever, the SEC will get the last laugh and LSU will win the national championship. Clip that shit. Clip that shit.
All
Coastal.
of that on a
As
down.
I know you're watching. We got some Coastal people. You can clip that. You can save it. And I want at Go CCU Sports, make sure when LSU wins it in 2 or wins this series, however many it takes, you can put that video out there as well. And if you put me on your disc tape, if something crazy happens, so be it. But I'm riding with LSU, the LSU Tigers. At the end of the day, talent prevails. The better teams typically in baseball win. Cream rises to the top. LSU will do that. They're the best team left. They were one of the best teams, if not the best team, not most talented, best team in college baseball this season. They'll prove that yet again this weekend.
All of that on a down year for the SEC. Wow.
Crazy how that happens.
Crazy. Still the most teams by any conference in the College World Series. Who'd have thought?
It's wild.
Guaranteed an SEC team in the finals. I mean, we would have been rocking Arkansas gear.
Wild to think.
I mean, I just think it's going to be such an electric series that
it is. We're
going to have memories from this series that people are going to remember for good or bad or indifferent, or, game-changing plays, game-changing moments, just the roar of the crowd, the fan experience that's going to be so unbelievably incredible to experience in person. Your first College World Series finals, my
first
second.
One?
I mean, the one last year for me with Tennessee, Texas A&M, I mean, it was just like and I mean this in the best way possible, an overstimulation of joy, gratefulness and blessing just to be able to experience that. And the way that the series went, we got 3 in that series last year. I'm expecting 3 in this series. I mean, I just think it's going to be a series in which we remember for a very, very long time, no matter what happens. And it's going to be special for both of us being able to do it here and experience it together.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We've had a great time here at the College World Series. That being said, guys, we are going to get our guys Jared Mitchell, Mikey Matuk on really, really briefly, and I'm going to let actually Harrison chop it up with Will Helmers because I've got radio at 4:20, 4:25-ish, so you'll get to man the controls here in just a second. Again, hopefully I'm thinking Jared Mitchell, Mikey Matuk are on the way. But, yeah, I'm excited, man. Again, I'm pumped. We both went LSU. I don't think anybody's really surprised, but I think at the end of the day, listen, if LSU was playing or if we genuinely in our heart of hearts thought it was going to go the other way, we'd go the other way. I mean, honestly, if
I absolutely think it's 3 games.
If LSU had lost Wednesday, I mean, Harrison, let's be honest. I'll be honest. I even looked at you when it was, I think, 5-3 Arkansas or maybe whatever the score was, and I said, Harrison, how do you like to match up Coastal's pitchers against this lineup? It's like that was me saying, like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, I really was like, damn, like this could not be good.
This isn't a heavy, I'm hammering LSU. This is I just think just the clutch factor is what lifts LSU over the top, on top of the mountaintop this year. And that's why I don't see it going in 2 games. I mean, I just think that this Coastal team is too good to lose in 2 games here, especially after winning over 25 straight games. They haven't lost since April 25th. I mean, they're way too talented, I think, to go 2-Q in the finals, and I don't expect that to happen at all.
Yeah.
And that's not any disrespect to LSU because I have them winning it, but like that's how good this Coastal Carolina team is. I mean, they've ran through the gauntlet of the postseason. Everyone's like they got it. I mean, you said it before, Chris. They've got to lose at some point.
Yeah.
Like, do they?
Yeah.
They don't have to. I just think that the clutch factor for LSU lifts them over the top. The home field advantage here lifts them over the top, and LSU claims number 8.
Yeah, I think LSU gets it as well. Okay, I don't know where Jay, Mitch, and Mikey are. We're going to just get Will on in the meantime because I've got radio in 7 minutes. We went a little bit longer. Than we planned, but, I mean, when you're having fun talking ball, I mean, Harrison, you got to think this is I guess you could say this is the last wind-up where there are still games ahead of us.
Yeah.
Potentially, unless we change our minds and go live at some point.
Preview game 3 if that
maybe
happens.
So. That might be fun. Either way,
it will be live from that Bengal Bus if so.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. That'd actually be a good idea.
We should have put this in front of the tiger that's just over here.
We had to set up in.
So we're set up in the living room.
Yeah, we had to set up in the living room. In the meantime, let's get him on. Will, you want to hop on? Okay, we're gonna get Will Helmers on 2023.
Come on, Dad.
Come on, Doc. 20. I don't know. Good question.
Anything age appropriate.
2023. I'm going to let you sit on this side. 2023 national champion, a guy who knows a thing or two about playing in a national championship.
A little bit about winning ball.
I'm going to let Harrison chop this up, and we'll let him take it away.
Word.
Ooh. Oh shit.
Those knees.
They hit me. Oh, those weak knees.
Somebody's getting old. Thank y'all.
I got radio.
Look at that. Look at that fucking butt.
We're in the swamp.
Swamp Hoss.
Like
Swamp Hoss.
That's what I said. I said it feels like Chase Shore's weather here. It's 100 degrees. It feels like Baton Rouge.
Shit, man.
Maybe that's a benefit for LSU playing in this heat and just what they're accustomed and climate to. I mean, tell me about that.
No, seriously.
Experience.
That's awesome. Obviously they're accustomed to it. They're accustomed to the weather. They're accustomed to being here in Omaha. They've been here throughout it. They've won 3 games here. You got a lot of guys who are national champions on this team, starters who are national champions. They're accustomed to what's going on and what's happening day in and day out from a practice standpoint, from a treatment standpoint, from a food standpoint. They're getting accustomed to it, and they're hitting their, you can see it. They're hitting their stride at the right time. Late in the games, early in the games, they're just finding ways to win.
Yeah.
And so
what about it is the thing that allows teams to just have the special moments, the clutchness when it matters most? Like, can you kind of equate that, or is it just guys stepping up?
A lot of it's, like you said, guys stepping up, and baseball is a game of luck. Seriously, it's the old Skip Bertman quote. It's about luck, baseball, whatever. But it is, sometimes you need a little luck to win a baseball game. But I like to, luck is a product of preparation at the same time. And so these guys, they're prepared to execute in every way, whether it's on the mound, at the plate, behind the dish, in the field. They're making the routine plays, and then they're going above and beyond to make the extraordinary plays as well. And so, they're prepared, and they've been executing all season long, and they keep executing here. And, yeah, sure, they've gotten a few breaks, along the way. They've had an inning of breaks to not force a second game against Arkansas. And part of that's just about baseball, which is awesome. That's why baseball's so cool.
Yeah, what about from a pitcher standpoint? Obviously, your experience here, playing the College World Series, playing at a program like LSU, and for just some of the best coaches in college baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes a pitcher, beyond having just filthy stuff that he can fill up his own, just like coming in a situation which, like Chase Shores is coming in, guys on and just slamming the door shut, coming in and just locking it down. What about it lifts a pitcher above having kind of the clutch factor conversation, above having just elite stuff they can fill the zone with?
Right.
What about it just being that calm, composed, that slow heartbeat of the mound? We talk about some coaches that players have. Perfect. What about it? Just talk to me about that.
That slow heartbeat, that's what it's all about, especially playing in that stadium. There's 25,000 people. Most of those guys have never pitched in front of that, whether you're, from Coastal or LSU or whatever team. Nobody's ever pitched. Most of those guys have not pitched in 20.
Because how many of the box hold?
12 maxed out.
Feels like 20,000.
Yeah, exactly. But a guy like Chase, he struggled this season, a good bit, and then he's kind of starting to find his path. It seems like the ball's starting to sink, slider's starting to get landed for strikes. Part of it's just about having guts and having nuts, man.
Having guts and having nuts. That's a bar.
But no, seriously, that's part of it. Is like gutting up, nutting up, and just letting it rip, man. And he's letting it rip at the right time. Trusting your stuff, having a slow heartbeat when pressure's on. And that's what Chase is doing. And that's what a lot of the guys from the mound are doing right now. And you can see it. They're composed. They're confident in themselves. They're confident in the guys behind them. They're confident in the coaching staff. The coaches, they're going to put them in the best position to be successful. That's why Chase is coming in the game. That's why, Cooper Williams comes in the game at a certain point. Or
freshman Case and Evans.
Exactly. That's why Evans has been so successful. So that's somebody who normally probably a freshman wouldn't have that slow heartbeat kind of, rhythm. But when he gets into a rhythm, sometimes he gets a little ahead of himself, speeds up a little bit. But when he's in his rhythm, that slow heartbeat is just ticking, tick, tick. And he just makes it happen. He gets it done. He lets it rip and has that slow heartbeat to keep on executing pitches.
And that's not something that, you can teach a kid a slider. You can teach him a curveball. You can't really teach kind of the slow heartbeat confidence that a guy has in those moments. Is that something just Jay Johnson just is so good at? And Josh Jordan, obviously, too, recruiting guys like that. It's like, this guy has it, that it factor.
That's a part of it, man, is recruiting the guys that, it's a look. It's a look that you can visibly see confidence. Somebody who pitches confidently or steps in the box confidently. Like when Derek Curiel first came to LSU, first game he's starting, and he looks like a big leaguer taking at bats. Takes professional at bats, and he has since he was at LSU. And that's something they look for when they're recruiting, when they're, going after a kid and even a kid in the transfer portal. Like, what does this guy look like in an in-game situation when the pressure's at the highest? And even when you fail, what do you look like when you fail? Baseball is a game of failure. Everybody's failed along the way with baseball. And it's just, how do you recover from that failure? How do you get to the next pitch? How do you learn to overcome what just happened? And all that different stuff kind of leads to that slow heartbeat, that, whatever else, you could call it nutting up, gutting up, whatever it is, that's, it all leads to the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
and kind of going more off of that, like, because you're all going to fail in baseball. It's the game of failure. I mean, you can't be successful without failing. You're never going to go through. You can have, an insane, go out there and throw 5, 6, 7 shutout innings your first time. You're going to give up runs. You're going to, have these bad outings.
Right.
What is it about, the culture at LSU and like the coaches that when those happen, it's like, how do you carry yourself after that? How do you respond, rebound, and just how does the support around the team at LSU with Jay Johnson and coaches like that work, and how is it different than others?
I mean, Jay, that's one thing Jay is great about, is picking somebody up and even giving them another chance. Sometimes all it takes is, look, man, it wasn't your day, but you come back, whether it's the next weekend or a midweek game or hell, even the next day, giving somebody that other chance, that next chance, and supporting them through it. Jay has always been great about it. And every guy that I've ever played with at LSU, and it goes back to who they're recruiting. They're recruiting good people. They're not just recruiting good players. They're recruiting good people. Every person that I've ever played with at LSU, for the most part, was there to support you through failure. And whether it was older guys or, guys in your class or even younger guys sometimes, like they were good at recruiting those types of good people to surround you when you're in a time of, I don't want to say a time of need, but, a time of, sometimes you need a little pat on the ass or, a pat on, on the shoulder or whatever. Just good at that and good at recruiting those guys and everybody that's on his staff, whether it's, Mark Wanaka or Josh Jordan or Wes Johnson or Yeski or all these guys that have been on his staff. They've all been great people, great, family-oriented people. And when you stick that together with the team that's the same way, that's a, team atmosphere and very, it has a very good chemistry. When you stick all that together, they kind of, everybody gels. Everybody wants to work for each other and wants to win together and play for each other. So it just works.
And I've heard some stories that, like this team, maybe last year too, of like in the fall and the chemistry they build early in the culture. It's like, hey, like we're all going to do this.
Yeah.
This isn't optional. You are going to be there. We are going to spend time together. We are going to, get to know each other. We're going to bond.
Right.
Tell me about that when you were there. What was that like? Is that just a standard expectation?
Yeah, I mean, we did it, and it's different with every team. I'm sure like not everybody's gonna be there and so show up or whatever. But with this team, like I've gotten to witness it firsthand. I graduated last spring, and I still know a lot of the guys, a lot of the leaders on the team. They'll reach out to me like, hey man, can you come cook? Can you come boil crawfish? Can you come cook a pasta live for us? Whatever it is. So I've gotten a chance to do that, 4 or 5 times probably throughout this season.
That's awesome.
And it's been awesome to watch this team, from when I first did it till, the last time they did it before they left for Omaha. It was just really special. This is a team that, you can see it in the dugout. You can see it. It's special how close together they are. And that goes from the guy that's riding the pine to the guy that's starting on Friday. From Kate Anderson to, whoever it is.
Because you'd be called up any moment. Hey, pinch hit.
Yeah, man. Exactly. And they have guys that are like that. Look at a Dalton Beck. Yeah. The guys had 6 at-bats all year, and one of them was the most important at-bat probably of his career. And he clutched up, and everybody came around him, and he could give a rip. If he's riding the pine, he wants his team to win. He wants to, be there and support the next guy, support the guy who's up there just because, he's getting a chance to play and the cathedral of college baseball at LSU.
And Jake Brown's talking about it. He goes, I want to help this team win in any way possible.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many guys that don't start at LSU on this team, especially that would start in so many other really good programs around the country.
They start in other SEC schools.
But they want to play here at LSU.
There's just something about LSU. It's the pinnacle of college baseball. It always has been since Skip Bertman. This is where people come to play college baseball. The most elite athletes, baseball, college athletes on the planet should want to play.
I mean, it could be as local as, Jake Brown grew up in West Monroe, Louisiana, saying, when you grow up, you dream about playing baseball at LSU to a guy like Anthony Ianson from California who grew up, going to UCLA games and watching him from San Diego area. And he's at LSU now. It could be as close to home as that or as across the country as that. And just what LSU means as a program.
LSU the SEC saying it just means more like the LSU, fan base, facilities, coaching staff, other players. That's what it's all about. When you look at college sports, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
And obviously it helps, winning. Yeah. Winning games, winning championships. But, how does the team, I guess, from your perspective, like that's not a pedigree, a pinnacle of college baseball. How does the team go about building it? Because, talk about Coastal. They're not a team that, like, you grew up and they're on national TV. They're the team everyone wants to be, everyone wants to beat. How does the team – we've seen Murray State here now in the College World Series. How does the team that's, like, not, an SEC team or top of the SEC that's anywhere else across the country build a culture like that. Because a lot of teams look up to LSU and say, hey, we want to have that kind of culture.
Exactly. And they're doing the same things. They're trying to do the same things at the same level. And now with the whole, the NIL game, it's different because, it's kind of about who can afford it and whatnot. But
the revenue sharing too.
All of it, that's coming up next year. Like there's so many different things that are going to play a factor into it now that didn't before. And so, but trying to build a program to replicate or model after LSU, it's not easy. It's not easy. And even like a team like Arkansas or, Tennessee, they're all great programs and people, look up to them and try to build their programs like that. But a team like Coastal, they were doing the same things, man. Like they're trying to recruit good people, local people that have wanted to play there.
I saw a quote that said, like, one of the Coastal guys said, we've a lot of kids growing up around that North Carolina, South Carolina areas. Like, I want to grow up and play baseball at Coastal. They said they've heard that a lot recently.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Sometimes that goes a long way, and not recruiting in California or Washington, like recruiting local kids that have the desire and have had the desire to play for a certain team. That helps, man. Like that makes guys want to win and want to compete even more than they already do. And LSU has that, to itself, just because it's LSU. But when you get those schools, like a Coastal, like a UL, like a, whatever else it may be, it's everybody's trying to model their program in different ways, and they see different ways where they can succeed and recruit certain guys. It's just a matter of, look, Coastal's here, they're doing it right. Murray State's here, they're doing it right. They just got to stay on that track and keep rolling. Yeah,
and one of the quotes, I don't know if you saw it from Coach Snall today in press, he talked about, I guess more leaning into the recruiting side of things, is if you like baseball, Coastal's not the place for you. Because if you like it, it's just not. You got to love this. Like, he lives, breathes, and just sleeps and eats it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so many coaches nowadays. Any coach that was here in college, in Omaha, Dave Van Horn, Jay, like all these different guys, they eat, sleep, and breathe college baseball, and they want their players to do the same because that creates a winning culture, that creates a winning atmosphere. All the positive things that you want in a program. Eat and sleep and breathe in college baseball and competitiveness and selflessness. That creates, for an unreal atmosphere, and which leads you ultimately to Omaha.
Yeah, and obviously helps with the recruiting aspect, let alone winning. But, talking to Jay Johnson here in Omaha before one of their games, he said, that obviously the portal is open right now, except for the 14th to 16th of June window, which is super weird. I personally think, not to get into it, it should be post-College World Series season, Yeah. But he talked about, they had some kids in on, visits for super, because you have to. And he goes,
always working.
If that doesn't sell them to come play with LSU, he goes, I don't want them.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Like, they shouldn't play here.
No, that's the absolute truth.
It doesn't get better than that,
it doesn't get better than a super regional of the box.
Yeah, and winning that and going back to Omaha.
Exactly. Going back to Omaha the past, 2 times in 4 years, and being in the championship 2 times in 4 years, and hopefully winning a national championship 2 times in 4 years. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
And Jay, like, his whole goal, ever since he got to LSU, it was a lifelong dream. He's watched Skip Burtman as he grew up. That was the coach to watch. And, for him, he's trying to model his program. He's always said it after Alabama football, after Nick Saban, making a dynasty,
make it a standard,
creating a standard of this is what we do. This is how we do it. We win championships here. And so he's solidifying that now. And in these early years of, LSU's his last spot.
There was,
And so,
well, we have heard that before. That
yes, I'm sure.
This is a destination. This isn't another spot. But not to get into that.
No, it's.
But I guess one more thing for me is like, how has for you and like anyone that plays at LSU, pitches, hits, whatever it is, how does playing at the box kind of prepare you for playing on this stage and just the pressure cooker that is, and just the pressure expectations that you have to play in front of an LSU fan base, and just how hungry they are, no matter. They just won it last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the LSU fan base is more competitive than the players. It seems like they just want to win so bad, and it's awesome. And having that pressure at the box year in and year out, and game in and game out, it really does prepare you for situations like this. 12,000 and 25,000. Obviously, the difference between the spectators is a lot. You know, it's 10,000 people or so, and big difference. A lot louder, a lot more pressure, but they've prepared for it all season better than any team in that aspect. They've gotten to play at Hoover in front of a packed crowd. They've gotten to play at Alex Box, and so it all culminates to what's going to happen in Omaha in this final, championship finale. This final series. They've trained for it and they're ready to execute, and on those fronts. On the fronts of being in those high pressure situations, having a lot of fans watch you, because that affects teams, man. Like you'll see it along the way throughout the season. Like you see a mid-major go into an Arkansas for a weekend series or whatever, and it blows up, blows up in their face. And sometimes like they have a hot damn, son. Yeah. Look at that. A little windy up in here.
Yeah.
But it's playing at Alex Box and having a chance to play at Hoover for them. They're comfortable here, and we've seen it already. They played in 25,000, and they're 3-0 right now. And so it's rare. I feel like rare for two teams to go 3-0.
Yeah,
there's not a Thursday game or anything, so it's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to the matchup.
To speak on the part of I don't know if you probably have experience in your life, but your career of Coastal's on this absolute heater.
Yeah,
what's it, 26 games in a row? I think it's at least 25. I keep saying that they haven't lost since the last Pope, and 8 days before that. But what kind of pressure does that put on the team, let alone on this stage? Like, how can you kind of relate to that?
That is pressure. That's pressure at its
especially if they go in and lose this first game, or responding. They haven't had to do it since April 25th.
It's like an oh shit moment. I don't know. Like a 26 game win streak. That's legit. That's legit for any. I don't care who you're playing. I don't really care who you're competing against. That is a legit win streak of guys who know how to win games, and coaches know how to win games. And look, if they go in and lose that first one, that who knows, it may take a toll on them, and they may come out flat the next day, and LSU comes out hot and they steal it from them. But at the same time, it's like, does that win streak propel you forward to keep playing to like your full potential, your full capabilities? And obviously it will. Both these teams are going to come out hot and come out swinging, come out throwing it, and it's anybody's game. Man. Yeah. That's the coolest part about baseball. To me, it's literally anybody can win. Yeah. Murray State's here in Omaha. Like, it's
about
awesome.
Being hot and healthy in late May, early June.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
All right, now tell me last two quick things. Yeah. First one, what was just give me a brief summary of the experience pitching here in Omaha and what that meant. Man,
it's hard to explain.
It's just something you'll never forget.
Never forget it. I'll never forget being here and being surrounded by all the fans and all the teammates, that I had along the way for that year, especially. It's just, that's a moment we all will cherish together for the rest of our lives. That we did it. We did what we set out to do along the way with, some elite players, guys that are going to be big leaguers for the rest of their lives, the rest of their careers. It's just indescribable, man. Yeah, it really is. Just so cool.
And was there like a favorite memory outside of that from your 2023 season, or just your career at LSU that sticks out to you more than others?
I don't know, man. It's obviously last year was my last year, going out with a bang in North Carolina and all that was badass, man. That was cool. And a chance to, one of the coolest things, since I was a freshman, until I was, my fourth year was last year, I got to see so many and meet so many good people along the way. So many of them that are, my close friends to this day. And I got to watch them, especially older guys when I was younger, got to watch them learn how to lead a team. I got to, learn from them and take their insights and kind of mold it into my own, type of way. And last year that all kind of culminated together for me, and got to lead a team and do all the fun stuff with that. And it's just special, man. LSU's such a cool place, from, the baseball to the fans to the championships. Damn, son.
I know we're going to love it a win here.
Windstorm, baby.
It's getting Western, Dog said.
It is. Dustin,
I know. But now you're on the other side of that, post playing at LSU and like you said, a part of that alumni, that fraternity that LSU baseball is in. Not only supporting them, being here for multiple reasons, but, guys that are flying to watch to support the team that, still associate that, you can go back there and, spend time with the team, since time with the coaches. And, they said they reached out to you and just for advice. Hey, come just like talk to us. That relationship, like that's got to be in everything.
Oh, it is, man. That's what it's all about. Like winning championships is great. Winning games is great. Creating, memories and friendships, through a sport, through a college, athletic sport, it's going to last forever. And it still lasts. And even with guys that I didn't play with, like a Mikey Matuk or, just some of those
that
guys.
Fraternity.
Yeah, man. It's a group of guys that mean each other, mean a lot to each other. And whether that's Ben McDonald or Cruz or Skeens or
Jared Mitchell.
Jared Mitchell. Any the list goes on and on and on. Gosman, Nola, both the Nola, whatever. It creates a bond that, puts guys close together and gives them something to hold on to, that LSU lifestyle, that LSU baseball way of life. It's awesome. Yeah. It really is, man. It really is. So,
all right, last thing. What are you looking forward to most in this championship series?
Man, what a tough question. I really do look forward to, LSU's got the 1A and 1B ready to rock and roll. And I think, honestly, watching both of these teams the past, whatever, however many weeks, they're both hitting their stride. They're both competing at the highest level. Exactly. They're both competing at the highest level. They're both executing to the best of their ability. And so to see two teams that are going to clash it out, man, that are going to be, Coastal's kind of a gritty team. They play like that. They're going to bunt. They're going to squeeze. They're going to hit and run. They're going to steal bases. And then you get LSU, who's kind of, an offensive team more, they've been good. They can hit the long ball. They can do all the same things. Watching them clash on the field and compete, at the highest level of college sports is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
It'll be exciting, man. I'm looking forward to it.
I know. We're looking forward to it. Chris and I both said it. The teal is for real, but this place can be painted in purple and gold.
Oh, man. A lot of people coming up today and tomorrow.
Already a lot of them here.
Driving up.
It's going to feel as close to an LSU home game as possible. We've seen the shirts. It says Omaha. It says Go Omaha.
Go Omaha.
LSU's
Omaha
home
North.
For the summer.
Alex Box North. All
yeah.
of it, man.
Well,
That's,
awesome. Well,
awesome.
Thanks for being here and taking some time to chat and learn about, just kind of your experience at LSU, playing the stage, kind of the culture at LSU, the culture of a team, a program of it, that's successful at the highest level, that wins championships, some of the best coaches in college baseball, and just, getting to learn some of that and partake in it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely.
We'll be
Have
here.
me back.
We might do, if there's a game 3.
Hey, man.
We might do a game 3 preview show.
I like it.
Be back with the Bengal Bus. I'll make sure it's in front of the eye of the tiger.
Hopefully not as windy.
Yeah, hopefully not as windy. The living room wasn't mine set for this.
The Tigers.
Joy popping in, obviously going for Tigers.
Always.
Hopefully in 2, I bet she says. But no, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. The last official windup of the season. So it's no better way to end it than
here we go
doing it this way. And LSU hunting for number 8.
Number 8. Yeah,
we know how important 8 is to LSU as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone baseball. The
shots, the Gordon.
That Mikey started with that and, passing it down. And it's going to be a thrill. Exactly. It's going to be a monumental game, kind of a Goliath and Goliath in 2 different perspectives. So we'll be here breaking it down. Obviously, the on-field content, the interviews, the experience, everything. So stay tuned with that. Subscribe if you have an SEC Unfiltered, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you get your social media consumption, your juice, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whichever one you want to call it. But SEC Unfiltered. Will Homer, thanks for being with us.
Thanks again.
Harrison Fant.
Go Tigers.
Looking forward to it. Go Tigers, baby.